Some call me the gangster of love.
Some people call me Maurice. Woo, woo. Yes, I speak up on the prophecies of love. Yeah. Some people talking about me, baby. Thanks, y'all. Said I'm doing you wrong, I'm doing you wrong. But don't you worry, don't you worry, don't you worry. 'Cause I'm right here, right here, right here, right now. 'Cause I'm a picker, I'm a getter, I'm a lover, and I'm a sinner. I play my music in the sun. And I'm a joker, I'm a smoker.
Hey, welcome back, viewers. It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, the guy on the bike, and we're on Madison Avenue. And we're gonna run upstairs here.
Union Square, y'all, how you doing?
To the Nahmad Contemporary and see a show by Jean-Michel Basquiat, Art and Objecthood. Stay tuned.
I really love your peaches, gonna shake your tree. Love it all the time. Ooh, yeah, darling, I should show you good times.
Well, I've got about 20 minutes before closing time, so I'm just going to leave the camera on and try to get as much in here as we can. Jean-Michel Basquiat, Art and Objecthood, curated by Buchhart. It's titled Minor Success, Acrylic Oil Stick and Gold Paint on Mirror Wood, 1980. Well, I went by the Basquiat show that's down in Chelsea that was curated by your sisters, and I got there a little late. But I was able to see the merch shop. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get you the titles for these pieces. Anyway, Jean-Michel Basquiat might be one of the greatest social phenomenons of the last 50 years. I think he passed away in 1988 at the age of 27 or 28. And, well, he was a superstar. Okay, so the one on the other side is a self-portrait. Appreciate what you do. Thank you. Okay, so here we got just his own refrigerator. Anyway, as you can see from the installation, Jean-Michel was an extraordinarily prolific artist. I was talking about the show that's down in Chelsea that I will try to get to at some point. They said they've got 200 pieces there that have never been seen. This is untitled Skull Cabinet. Oh, this is Skull Cabinet. Guess I wonder what the price on something like that would be. Totem, 1982, acrylic oil stick and paper collage on canvas. Well, last weekend I stopped into the Village Works bookstore, and there in the basement was Patti Astor. It's titled Car Crash, 1980, acrylic and oil stick on burlap mounted on wood. And maybe I'll paste that into the report. Patti was the partner in a little thing called the Fun Gallery. Her and Bill Stelling, they started in 1981 and operated until 1985. And although they weren't the first people that gave Jean-Michel a show, they were the first people, I think, that kind of appreciated him as an artist. There's been a lot of criticism about the way that Nina Nose kind of treated him like a pet seal. Okay, here's an interesting piece. Actually, this is a portrait of a friend of mine. This is titled Brett as Negro, 1982. Acrylic on tile, glued on plywood. So the Brett is Brett De Palma. You can go back in the files. I've probably got a couple of reports of him. I've known Brett for, 40 years, something like that. We've got a whole series of doors. Tours. Okay, so we've got our little titles here, but are they running left to right, right to left? Just call them doors and untitled doors. As I was saying, though, he was a very prolific artist. I've just finished watching Warhol Diaries on Netflix, and of course, most of it's Andy Warhol, and I think it's something like 7 episodes. But I would say that probably 2 or 3 of those episodes are pretty much talking about Jean-Michel and the relationship that Jean and Andy had. I guess this would be the yellow door. One of the things I always enjoyed about the work was that Jean uses a lot of text, and also in a lot of these he's using photostats and photocopies so that he can kind of build up a texture on these that's reminiscent of, say, painting on the street where you've got a lot of posters and things that have been pasted on and glued on, rock and roll concerts, stuff like that. It's titled Untitled The Box. Acrylic oil stick spray paint collage and plaster on wood. Oh, this is a nice one. Extra cigarettes. Well, I used to work at Utrecht, the art store, and occasionally Jean-Michel would come in, wouldn't say much. He would pick up a few things and leave. And then I remember one evening, kind of working late, it was about closing time, and 2 or 3 Rastafarian guys came in, and the manager kind of looked at these guys. Everybody else was kind of suspicious. The manager looked at him, he says, "I know these guys, let them in." And so they went around, picked out about $1,800 worth of paint and canvas. It's kind of multi-flavored, 1982 acrylic oil stick on canvas on tied wood supports. And well, we loaded all of the paint and canvas and markers and things into the Utrecht van, and then zipped it over to his studio, which I think he was renting from Andy Warhol at the time on Great Jones Street. I think that's the place where they eventually found him. We brought the stuff in, and he kind of slumped over into the corner and just watched us bring the stuff in. And actually, I remember he was working on some of these slat pieces, and it's a very famous photograph of him that appeared on the cover of the New York Times Magazine section, that he's sitting in his studio. He's got a Giorgio Armani suit on, and he's barefoot, and there's a painting behind him, and that was the painting that I remember seeing in the studio. It's untitled Half Moon, 1985. Okay, so a lot of this stuff, he was dragging in things from the street, or having his crew drag in things, and what they call now, he was repurposing it. Okay, this is a little weird. It's titled Possession, 1986, acrylic and wood relief on wood. I'm not giving you any of the sizes here, so I would estimate that this is probably about 5 by 8 feet. Untitled, 1982. Acrylic and enamel on blanket mounted on tied wood supports. So this is actually a packing blanket, I believe. And, well, he got a lot of, certain people were criticizing him for the way that he would just slap his stretchers together like he was stretching a hide or something. I always kind of liked the ruggedness and the urgency of all that. You know, I worked at the art store, and I've had a lot of formal training and know how to stretch canvas, prime canvases, all that stuff. And it's always great to see someone that just, they don't know anything about it. They don't need to know anything. They just go ahead and do what they need to do. Okay, here we got some of the major pieces. Self-portrait, 1985. Okay, so I've never seen him do the thing with the bottle caps, although because I spend time going to some of the outsider art fairs, I have seen some of the outsider artists. It could even be a guy named Mr. Marvelous. Maybe he's from Chicago, that does a lot of work with the bottle caps like this. And yeah, so 1985, he was maybe 24, 25 when he was doing a lot of this. Oh, this is a very classic Basquiat. untitled World on Wood, 1985. I always love the kind of the abraded, kind of abject surfaces of a lot of these pieces. And this was back when they just started popularizing the use of the oil sticks. There were a lot of artists that had started using that, and I think Basquiat was one of the people that really was able to use it, in that he could sort of use this and work almost like he was doing a sketch or a drawing. He could get in there, make his little drawing, or start to do the drawing, and paint on top of it with some house paint or enamel or acrylic, and could work very fast. I think that's one of the reasons why he was so prolific. Untitled, I would say that this piece is probably about 8 by 4 feet. I saw a Basquiat show at the Brooklyn Museum probably about 15 years ago. It was a very good, one of the first major retrospectives of his work. He is a Brooklyn boy, and it was good that the Brooklyn Museum did a huge show. And they had an entire wall of his drawings. And it was fascinating because it was kind of chronologically laid out. It was all on pretty nice Arches paper, 22 by 30 inches. But it went from like 1980 to 1987, just before he passed away. And it was amazing to see how gradually there was more and more text appearing in the drawings. And he was fantastic when it came to things like making lists and having rhyming things and word plays and kind of a whole poetic thing, but it was the poetic of the written word rather than the spoken word. This is a good example of what I was just talking about. Weitzel, Jenkins, Wilms, Tisel, Ellington, 1987. So this is very late. And not only was he great with the text, maybe even more importantly, he was great with his erasure. And I've been talking to some people that are into music and poetry, and they say that the gaps, the blanks, are almost as important as the places where you have things. South African Nazism. Acrylic and silk screened ink on enamel metal panel. And they've got a pretty extravagant frame on this. Well, getting back to the Jean-Michel and the Warhol diaries, they kind of present him as someone that Andy helped, and they had a deep friendship, and kind of got Warhol back involved in another generation of artists. But other people have talked about how they thought it was kind of destructive. They thought that Andy was like a vampire, kind of sucking the juice out of Jean-Michel. I don't know, maybe not, maybe. Okay, that's nice. So we've got our Mary Boone punching bag and Mary Boone on the Mona Lisa. It's another major piece I've never seen. Negro period 1986. Acrylic oil, Xerox collage, and bottle caps. Well, I was out in LA last summer and we went to the Broad Museum, and I was looking at some of the paintings in that show, and I made the statement that I thought that Basquiat also, not only was he a great colorist and a kind of a poet and doing a lot of things and had a wonderful feeling for surfaces, but there's a formalism. And I was talking about Jean-Michel as a formalist, and well, you can look at this in the way that he has divided his canvas up. He's got these two sections over here of the red frames, and then this extra panel, pandello. And there's also a kind of a coloristic relationship. You know, he was extremely prolific, but he also had people that worked with him and did parts of things. And when you see something like this and the amount of time that it would take to glue all these things together and then put them together and all that other stuff, you realize that yeah, there was a lot of production going on. This is a very nice little gallery. Oh, that's a classic piece. This is Untitled, 1985. You know, I think one of the interesting things is that by this time Jean-Michel was pretty successful and was, you know, certainly was making plenty of money. He didn't have to paint on pieces of broken furniture that he found in the streets. But I think that that was part of his aesthetic. And gosh, they're calling this image and objecthood, something like that. Let me see, what are they calling this? So the title of the show is Art and Objecthood, and I was thinking that that's kind of a riff on the Michael Fried, I believe it was Michael Fried, essay about objecthood and kind of him drawing the distinction between minimalism and high modernism. And Michael Fried was an acolyte of Clement Greenberg, and I'm sure he never dreamed that his nice intellectual and austere title would be used for a show dealing with art like this. Okay, I was wondering what the titles were, but this is pretty easy. This is called Jazz. And, well, it is actually interesting to see how he expanded his paintings into three-dimensional space, and this gets to the whole thing about minimalism, and Don Judd talking about some of the best work that was done during the minimalist period was done by people that were working somewhere between painting and sculpture. Untitled 1984 acrylic oil stick and Xerox collage. I'm actually surprised that these Xerox prints have held up as well as they have. Okay, I think we got one more room. Okay, another little intimate gallery. Untitled, acrylic and oil and Xerox and collage. It also looks like part of an old door. You know, one of the great things about living in New York is that there's a lot of old stuff, you know, beautiful old houses that have beautiful handcrafted woodwork and various things. And God, when the developers come through, they just rip this stuff down and toss it out on the streets. Again, that's an example of what I would call his formalism, the way he divides up the rectangles and then plays off the spaces in various ways. Crisis 10, 1982, acrylic oil stick on canvas. As I was saying, it's like Jean-Michel didn't really worry about whether these pieces were going to last for 1,000 years or 500 years. I think the important thing for him was just to get things happening and have some fun. He would have an idea, start putting stuff together. Grapestone, 1987, acrylic on hinged wood panels. And we're going to finish off very appropriately with this one. Madonna, 1985. Okay, well, we can't ignore the fact that Jean-Michel was dating Madonna for quite a while, and they lived together. If you have a chance to see the Patti Astor, it's part of a documentary that she's doing, but part of it is I'll probably try to paste in a link below. Patti Astor talks about the show that he had at the Fun, and his date, of course, was Madonna. And I guess they were having a little argument. But Jean-Michel was quite the raconteur, kind of the person that was so hip and so groovy that everybody kind of gravitated to him and tried to figure out or copy him because he knew what was going on. He was drifting around a lot. Before he started to have some success, he was almost basically homeless. I think he left home in Brooklyn when he was about 16. And, well, the rest is history. If you make as small a hole as possible in a sheet of paper and then bring it, okay. James Kalm reporting on Jean-Michel Basquiat, Art and Objecthood, here at Nahmad Contemporary. You can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. And we all thank you for watching, and we ask you to say thank you, Kate. Okay, well, we're here at Village Works Bookstore for the debut of Patti Astor's film, The True Story of the Fun Gallery. And it's Easter.
Okay, all right. All right. Hi. All right. Thank you very much for coming. I was coming into New York for, actually I went to Bobby Grossman's show last night. Bobby was the photographer for TV Party, Glenn O'Brien's TV Party. And so that was kind of, that's my high school reunion because I moved to the East Village in 1975, 74, 75, and CBGB's was like the only bar in town, literally, other than the Russian bars and the grass of the drug dens. And so we all just met there, and Blondie and Talking Heads were the house band, so it was a great time for me. So that's my roots in the East Village. Anyway, so and then I did all these movies and started an art gallery and all this other stuff. Okay. And I wrote a book about it, Fun Gallery, which is right there, and you're welcome to have a look at it. I self-published it because no one else would self-publish my book, and I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it myself, which I did. Never do that.
I know, I'm sure it's very expensive.
But, and I got about 1,200 out there. And this is the end. I'm looking for mass market publishing next. So then of course now, and then I've always wanted to do documentary, and everybody was going to do this, so we're going to do this, so we're going to do this, so we're going to do that. Yeah, well, we're still waiting. So I decided to just I started my own movie company where I live now in Hermosa Beach called Pink Piddle Productions, and I decided to just make my biopic myself. So and I'm doing it in installments because it's easier for me. It's easier for everyone just to do, this one's 20 minutes, and it's easier just to do it in the segments. And actually after the beginning of the first one, I got financing for the second segment, which I have wrapped. And we're editing it now, and that'll be 2 more stories.
Awesome.
And I'm taking there's stories from the book, and they're sort of contrasting, kind of one from the beginning and one from, later on with Fun Gallery, because my book's just about my life. It's not an art book. It's just what led me to meet a lot of great people and have a lot of fun. So, without further ado,
Okay.
And by the way, things didn't really with this, but hey, back in the day, we would have been freaking thrilled to have something like this. So,
Thank you, Patty.
let's see if
Thank
we
you.
can get this thing rolling. And I just finished, and I actually shot this locally, and I live now in Hermosa Beach, and there's really a great art scene. It's very Hermosa Beach is a small surf town, and it's just very unpretentious. You're there because you love the ocean. And I actually shot this locally with a group of film crew. They're on their 20s, and they can't believe it, but they do a great job. And everybody in Hermosa has been giving me locals only prices. So we actually just shot another 2 stories. I'm going to do 2 stories. As you can see, they're sort of I try to contrast.
Yeah.
And the next ones that we shot are on my anti-war days in New York City from 1968 to 71 with Columbia Aster. Started with Columbia SGS, and the second one's on Feb 5 Freddy. So that's my story. So I didn't really plan this. Does anybody want to ask me anything? Or want a chocolate bunny? And also I'm signing posters. So I'll just start doing that.
Actually, I have a question, Patty. It seems like there's been a lot of renewed interest in what was happening in the East Village these days. I spent 5 days watching the Warhol Diaries, and they kind of feature a lot of that stuff. There's been some major shows at the Museum of Modern Art, places like that, where they're looking at this. What do you think it is that's kind of making people interested in the East Village scene again? I mean, this is 40 years since you opened the gallery, right? I mean, I hate to say that.
I mean, it's amazing, but I think still, it was like there was a unique time where, now there's just, we were living on nothing, and you could do that then. You can't do that anymore, and it was all kind of right there in our hands, Everyone knows, so yeah, you can do all this stuff with the internet and blah, 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 and all that kind of thing, but frankly, there's nothing like diving into the the lake in Central Park to make a jungle movie when you're shooting Super 8, you know? It's just like, yeah, you can sit in your room and work on your computer, but frankly, I'd rather be doing that. You know, and I just think it's just really a unique time, and that's what I'm saying, like with a young crew. I've actually been like able to kind of, listen to their questions about this thing, because this is like life on Mars to them.
Yes.
And they know. It's weird because they have there's all this like generalized knowledge that you can get from all this equipment, just all this like barrage of this like internet, blah, 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 and all this other Twitter, Instagram, blah, 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 so they're kind of have the idea of it, but they really, the real thing, they just, isn't really out there. And I think, what we did was the real thing.
It was.
I got a 19-year-old artist that was featured in Vanity Fair coming here in about half an hour. He's fascinated with that era, with Basquiat, with you, he's just completely fascinated with it. Yeah, he's going to be here in a half an hour.
And I also think too, just looking at it, unfortunately, when I did the video was coming on next is worth looking at. I did in 2011, I think it was, I did a recreation of the Fun Gallery at the Art in the Streets thing out at
Yes.
Mocha in LA, and that was also like really interesting. But the thing was when I did 3 rooms. I did the old school room, and then I did Kenny Sharp did a black light closet, and then I did the Fun Gallery crew. And the Fun Gallery crew were the artists that had one-man shows at the Fun Gallery. You know what I mean? And again, it was, and I didn't even want, I just had to get these guys out of my apartment. And Bill Stelling, it was my Mud Club friend. I was a movie actress, Bill Stelling was my Mud Club friend, and he said, I have this little space that I fixed up for a gallery. Because we just used to go to the Soho openings to see if we could see the Warhol stars and get free drinks. And then Eric Mitchell would go along for the social climbing, so we let him take care of that. But, and so we were kind of, we were aware of the art scene, but, whatever. It wasn't organized or anything. And I'll tell you Keith Haring was very influential in doing these one-night shows, these the pop-ups and everything. And so then that had already been going on, quite a bit at Club 57. We have Danny Johnson here, was one of really stars at Club 57. And it was just, a great, you could just do what you wanted to, And also, but my point was is that when I was looking at my Fun Gallery room, 3/4 of my artists are gone.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that, I feel like part of my responsibility to them is when you came to the Fun Gallery, I said, I'm going to represent you as you want to be seen.
Right.
That's how we're going to play it.
Respectful.
And just because they're gone now doesn't mean that I still don't keep that commitment.
Yeah.
And I think also that, a lot of people want to know about these people, and frankly, I'd rather let them hear it from me than from a lot of other people who are telling the story right now. So
Agreed.
Amen. Well, you're telling
Thank
it
you.
like it is.
thank you.
Or like it was.
Well,
I think the other ironic thing is that now there are starting to be a few galleries that are moving back into the East Village, and it's sort of like another generation is picking up, and I think that you will be,
Much respect, and the reason that I picked this place
person.
is the reason that I picked this particular place is that Joseph reached out to me when he had the idea for this gallery. I went to LA. I left. The Fun Gallery ran 1981 to 1985. In 1985, when the condos on Avenue C, when the $1 million condos came to Avenue C, I was like, I'm out of here. And and the art business was just really becoming really like what it is today. And I was just, I just wanted to get out of the art business and make movies, which I did out in California. So
What you're doing now, again, you're making movies.
yeah, and luckily, I have to say, and I feel like the guys are with me always, keep it, as A1 said, He was quoted in the movie, but because what was really great was I was very lucky to be able to just these guys would come in and have serious talks with me in the gallery, and when A1 gave me he just said, Patti, you gotta keep your shit correct. And I feel like the guys are with me, and they're helping me do that. And I have been getting financing from the art world, from people who are collectors of those artists and but really believe in them, and that's been helping me. And I feel that that's the guys are with me to keep telling my story. So our story, absolutely. And I thank you all for coming.
Great story.
If anyone would like a sign,
Thanks, Patti.
All right, a little Steve Miller for you guys.
I love Steve Miller. Greg Morgan.
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. That was great.
I know, appreciate it.